Imagine walking into a crack in the earth. Cliffs rise 200 feet on either side, the sky a thin ribbon far above for more than a kilometer. And then the canyon opens, and carved directly into the rock stands a temple 40 meters high, rose-red in the morning light. This is Petra. Beyond it lies an entire city cut from the cliffs. Tombs, temples, a theater, 800 monuments built in one of the driest deserts on earth by a people who began as nomads with no cities at all. How did wandering tribesmen become some of the richest people in the ancient world? How did they find water where there is none? And why did their rose-red city fall silent and vanish for 600 years? This is the story of the Nabataeans, the people who turned the desert into gold. The Nabataeans began as a whisper in the records of their enemies. Desert nomads who owned no houses and planted no crops, moving through a land that would kill an ordinary army in days. And that was their first weapon. When a Greek general sent a force to seize their wealth, they slipped into the dunes, struck at night, and destroyed it almost to the last man. You could not hold these people. They would fade into the sand, and the sand would do your dying for you. But they were watching the caravans that crossed their land, and they were about to do something no nomad was supposed to do. Everything they built rested on one thing: water. Petra sees only a few centimeters of rain a year, and most of it falls in sudden, violent floods that roar through the canyons and vanish into the sand. Most people feared that rain. The Nabataeans captured it. They became master engineers, cutting channels and pipelines into the rock for kilometers, building dams to turn the deadly floods aside, and carving hundreds of cisterns and reservoirs to store water through the long, dry months. By some estimates, their system could supply a city of 30,000 in a place that should not hold a single village. And where there had been only stone, life began. Gardens and orchards and vineyards rose in the desert. Channels carried water past the houses, and in the cool of the morning, women gathered at the fountains to fill their jars, talking and laughing as the water ran. The smell of fresh bread drifted from clay ovens. Shepherds led their goats among the rocks, and in the terraced gardens, families bent to the harvest. They had done the impossible. They had made the desert bloom. Control the water, and you control life itself, and that gave them power over something even more valuable. In the ancient world, two things were worth more than their weight in silver: frankincense and myrrh. They came from the trees of southern Arabia, and to reach the markets of Rome, they had to cross 2,000 kilometers of deadly desert. Only one people knew that desert well enough to move them safely. The Nabataeans mastered the Incense road. They controlled the wells, the way stations, and the secret routes, and the caravans paid them for water, for guidance, for protection, for passage. When a caravan came home, the whole town poured out to meet it. Spices, silk, and gold flowed through Petra's markets, where vendors called out over baskets of dates and pomegranates, and mothers carried their children through the crowds. The former nomads had grown staggeringly rich. They built Petra not by stacking stone, but by removing it, carving their monuments straight out of the rose-red cliffs and working from the top down with astonishing precision. They cut the great monastery into the high rock, its doorway tall enough to swallow a house. They carved royal tombs like temples and a theater that could seat thousands. But the wonder of Petra was never only its stone, it was the life inside it. At its height, perhaps 30,000 people lived here, in a city that should not have existed. In its workshops, women wove bright cloth on wooden looms and dyed it in vats of vivid color, the fabrics drying in the desert wind. Potters shaped delicate cups, finer than almost any in the ancient world. In the streets, children chased each other and the goats through the dust, and old men sat in the shade over a game of dice. Families gathered at dusk to share a meal by lamplight, and when night fell, the children pressed close to hear the storytellers. There were weddings with drums and pipes and dancing, and there was the theater and the temple of their god Dushara, thick with incense and prayer. They wrote in their own flowing script, the ancestor of written Arabic, and they grew so secure in their desert fortress that they believed no one could ever take it from them. For a long time, they were right. As Petra grew rich, the great powers of the world turned their eyes upon it. The Nabataeans played them against one another, minted their own coins, and built a true kingdom with its own line of kings. When Rome marched on Petra, the desert and the heat beat the army back. Under their greatest king, Aradus IV, the city reached its golden age. But their whole magnificent world rested on a single foundation, trade. And that was a thing that could be taken from them, not by an army, but by something far quieter. In the year 106, the end came with no battle. Rome simply annexed the kingdom and folded it into the empire. At first, little changed, but Rome had learned to use the sea. Ships now carried the goods of the east up the Red Sea, bypassing the desert routes entirely. The wells the Nabataeans had guarded for centuries began to matter less and less, and a city built on trade cannot survive its loss. The fall of Petra was not a catastrophe, it was a fading. As the trade declined, so did the reason for the city to exist, and slowly the people drifted away. Then the earth itself turned against them. A massive earthquake shattered the buildings, cracked the great facades, and broke the intricate water system that had taken centuries to perfect. Without it, Petra was just a dry canyon again. The orchards withered, the fountains fell silent, and the desert simply walked back in and took what had always been its own. For 600 years, the wider world believed Petra was only a legend. Then, in 1812, a young Swiss traveler in Arab disguise persuaded a guide to lead him through the canyon, and as it opened and the great rose facade rose before him, he knew he had found the lost city. Today, millions walk that path, but Petra is also a warning written in stone. The Nabataeans were brilliant. They mastered the deadliest desert on earth and built a paradise in it. Yet their whole magnificent world rested on a single river of trade, and when it found another path, all their genius could not save them. The desert keeps Petra now.